Hello, everyone. This is such a... So here's the situation. I had been thinking about the fact that it will be 10 years since I graduated this upcoming June, and I had filmed a video about that, specifically dealing with the differences in how you make friends as an adult versus as a child, and what that means for someone 10 years after high school, whether you keep those friendships or don't. And while I was editing that video together, it's about 75% done, I got the news that, as the title of this video says, my high school is actually closing this June. And I don't know how to feel about that. Someone created a Facebook group to reunite all the alumni of the school to just talk about our feelings about the school closing. And the group rapidly developed this notion that perhaps the school could be saved. But for those of you not familiar with the area, that high school is literally a running joke of most of the other schools on the island. For me, the school was just such a mixed bag. I had some really great teachers who continue to inspire me today, and I had some really lackluster or downright bad teachers. And I know that a lot of people have a mixed bag when it comes to education. It's not exclusive to this school. It's a problem I had all through college as well. I'm not saying that the education I got there was subpar. In many ways, it was well above par, and in other ways, it was below par. So I guess overall, it kind of averages out. What I am saying is that I don't want to slip into this pattern of thinking that the school was bigger or better than it was. I was addressing this with my therapist because honestly, I did not know how to feel about all of this, and her advice was basically, feel however you're trying to feel about this, don't try to block it, which for me is really good advice because I always try to be Spock. Typical therapist, the answer to your feelings is more feelings. I feel like a lot of us at the time were just trying to make the most of the situation that we found ourselves in. And my therapist is asserting, and I agree with them, that is what we're nostalgic for. We're nostalgic for those experiences that we made of the situation we were in, more so than the situation or the setting. The reality is, the school had been getting $16 million in aid from the diocese, which is sort of the governing body of religious institutions for a specific area. The tuition was going up and up and up, and this year enrollment was down. And to hear the diocese tell it, it's not that they're getting a lesser percentage of students in the area that want to go to Mercy. It's that there's simply not enough high school age students in the area. And I feel like that's sort of telling of the problem. This is a very expensive area to live, and it's been getting worse. There are really not a lot of career opportunities out on this end of the island, particularly those that could pay for someone to go to a private school. A lot of young people have been feeling pressured to leave the eastern end of this island, and have then done so. I knew we were in trouble 2 years ago when they laid off half the faculty, a majority of whom were the teachers that I had when I was there. If that's not a warning sign that the school is struggling, I don't know what is. I think we need to acknowledge that the school was struggling for some time, because this whole area has been struggling for some time. For argument's sake, let's say that tuition is $10,000 a year per student. It may have been around that. I'm not up on the numbers. I haven't been there in 10 years. But just for the sake of quick math, $10,000 times 100 students is $1 million, times 4 years is $4 million, $16 million from the diocese. It costs about $20 million to run that school the way they were doing it. $20 million for 400 kids really doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And it's hard not to feel that the diocese is just abandoning hope here. On Facebook, one of my friends shared a video where the bishop had decided to go out to the high school to talk to some of the parents and students about the situation. And he really didn't seem to have very much to say. As far as I can tell, based on everything that I've seen, it seems that they're saying, this is no longer a priority. This is not a $16 million priority for us. And I certainly feel for the students and parents who are out of luck. They're upset because we were just told, oh, by the way, we're closing the school due to low enrollment. Okay, bye, thanks. And that feels wrong. It feels like it was mismanaged. But I have yet to see any serious proposal that fixes any of these long-standing issues. You can't raise the tuition because then you'll get lower enrollment. And yeah, you could subsidize the school more, but at a certain point, there's a tipping point where it's no longer financially responsible to pour money into a place that's not doing so well. Do I think the school deserves to be saved? No, I don't. I don't think that the numbers are there. I don't think there are enough parents with children who are high school age who can afford to send their student to a school where they have to pay tuition. From the diocese perspective, this is a losing proposition. The school hasn't been prestigious for some time. And in general, private schools all over the country are not doing very well. The cost of education is constantly going up, and people have to make a choice. I can't imagine if I had a high school age student today spending the kind of money that it would take for them to go to a school like this to get an education that's still a mixed bag. It's unsettling to have a place that you felt would always be there disappear very suddenly. And it's normal to feel upset at losing something like that. In Harry Potter, Professor Trelawney refers to Hogwarts as her home. And I have to say, I can relate to that as a student. For 4 years, Mercy was my home. And now that home is being destroyed. And I don't really know how to process that. But for all we know, this frees up $16 million to some other school that really needed it. I'm really glad that so many people are reaching out on the Facebook group and talking to each other and reminiscing about some of their best experiences from the school. It's nice to have that sense of community after so long. I wish there was something that I felt could be done about it, but in my opinion, these problems are systemic. They're regional. This is a symptom of the problems of this area. I get it, it's taking away the option from someone on the east end of the island, which is progressively getting harder and harder to live and grow in. But I don't think $16 million to a high school is going to solve that problem. And even if we could save it, I'm not sure for how long. Long enough to get the students that are currently enrolled at the school out? Maybe. But I don't think saving the school is really a realistic option at this point. And I think our emotional and financial efforts would be better put to taking the time to thank the administration, teachers, faculty, students that made our time at that school memorable, rather than trying to save it. Obviously, I will be sad when the school closes. Like I said, it feels like a home to me. But the school is going to close, and there's not very much we can do about it. I think that's it for this video. Next week I'll be putting up the video I had originally filmed about this subject. So until then, thank you for stopping by, and stay curious.